You've made it to Chiro Hustle Live. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Imaging Services, Mahalo Wellness, Chiro Health USA, The Goodman Factor, Chiro Moguls, Local Gold, Chiro Thin, McCaffrey's Clinical Mentoring, and Chiropractic Rocks. Let's hustle. All right, so it looks like we're live. Today I have Dr. Jason Dean here with me, and you're from the Revolution Network. And I've seen you do something really amazing here in our current times, is you've hockey sticked straight up with not only an amazing audience, but you're a chiropractor, and you have a show that cultivated through crisis. And I know that you've done a great job of covering current topics and staying ahead of the curve, and maybe helping with your content flattening the curve. But we're not going to talk too much about the virus itself, but we're going to talk about like perception of reality and where we are right now because of some of the things that have shifted. And I think that as a journalistic front, I couldn't be more proud of you for what you're doing, man, with Revolution Network and getting the message out to people and building a following. If anybody is not following Dr. Jason Dean, where should they go and follow you? I know you said that you're starting to grow on Twitter, but where are your main platforms where you get most of your following?
The biggest following, Jim, first of all, by the way, thank you very much for that. I appreciate that. And obviously ditto back to you. What you've done for our profession is unmatched by anybody. And so this is just getting the message out there, which is literally, this is how we change healthcare. And so we'll go into that. But where you can find me, the biggest one obviously is on Facebook right now. That's just go to my public page. I mean, I actually got more following on that than I did anywhere else. You can find me on Twitter. Dr. Jason Dean, those are the handles. You can find me on Instagram, YouTube now. YouTube is blowing up as well. And then my website is revolutionnetwork.live. And stay tuned for the future because I'm working behind the scenes with a couple people. And we are going to have a major network site, almost like if you went to like a foxnews.com or a cnn.com, you're going to be able to go to that, where it's going to be Patriots Unite and pushing out a network for freedom for all. So that's coming up.
Well, I like to do the preemptive close. So everybody gets to know where to follow you. They don't have to wait to the end. They can watch us from the jump and they know where to go get the goods.
Absolutely. I love it.
So one of the topics I really wanted to discuss is opening up America, man. And I know that a lot of people have like a lot of fear right now, and they just don't know what to do, and they don't know where to go or who to trust. And, you know, they're stuck inside their houses. They think that they have to drive around with masks on. One of the topics we're going to talk about is like the future of agriculture, like for what we know it to be. And do people want to go to the freaking grocery store in the future? So I think people have to know that that's something that's important to them. Like, right. I want to go to the grocery store today. Like, I think that those things are important. And, you know, me coming from Iowa, I was saying before we started this interview, I come from the ag belt, dude. Like I come from like, you want to talk about Bible Belt, like, you know, down in Missouri and the South, like Iowa, Nebraska, the Dakotas, we're the ag belt. And that's where people go, and that's where they, you know, farm, and they raise the cattle, and they raise the pigs, and they, you know, they do the soybeans and the corn. And, you know, we are the agriculture capital of, you know, we used to call ourselves the armpit of the United States.
I get it.
But before we get into those deep topics, man, let's talk a little bit about chiropractic, because I know you're a chiropractor, and I know that you have very close ties to this beautiful profession. And let's just touch on some of the ideas around where the struggles are coming from, and maybe some solutions.
Well, from my standpoint, so from a practice standpoint, and I'm with, you know, yourself, the Billy D's of the world, the Galakis of the world, the Naputis of the world, all these guys who are big practices. So my wife and I have a large practice. We have, I think, 5 associates now as well on top of us. And so we also live in Florida. And I will tell you, Florida, we're a very rebellious state. So I always say it's Florida, Texas, a little bit of Nevada, and a couple other states up there, but we have no state income tax here. So we're really rebellious. We don't like being told what to do. It's a carry conceal type of state. And so with us, we never shut down. Now, honestly, yes, we had a little bit of a downtick in visits and stuff like that, but it really was only because we had some older people who didn't want to come in, a little bit freaked out. Keep in mind, People are still listening to the media out there. They get scared. But from a standpoint of practice, we actually grew. Our biggest month this year was, I believe it was April. My wife told us that she was looking everything over. And so we actually had our biggest like revenue month of people coming in and getting help. And I will tell you, man, people were coming in scared. Now, again, I'm in Florida, so I don't see as much out there. I just can see through social media. Some people are shutting down and things like that. And from a chiropractic standpoint, this is not just a political thing that's happening behind the scenes. If anybody watches my show, this is also a healthcare thing. So public health is imploding. And when I say public health, I'm talking about government health, big pharma, that whole screwed up system where they make money off of each other and they keep people sick. And so from a chiropractic standpoint, I want people to know out there, the chiropractors out there, that you need to focus on, we are the answer in people's lives. And so,
amen.
No matter what happens going forward, and I'm a mixer. I will be right up front about that. And if anybody doesn't know what a mixer means, is like, hey, I still do nutrition. There might be therapies in our office, things like that. So I'm not just a straight doc who just adjusts. And I have total respect for straight docs. I love them. I have friends out there who do it. But at the end of the day, people are looking for answers. And chiropractic is going to be the primary care physician, which we already are, but it's going to be the number one go-to. People are waking up and tired of taking their medications. And so anybody out there right now who has an office that's shut down, I want you to rethink what you're doing. I covered this last week. There's a woman named Shelley Luther who is in Texas, right? One of potentially the freest state in America. She has a salon, and she decided it was her personal responsibility to open her salon up, not just because of her and her family and her kids, but also her associates. And she literally walked to her salon. She got arrested, right? And she was going to be put in jail for 7 days or whatever it was, $7,000 fine. And so I want to get a little kick in the ass to the chiropractors out there, because there's 50 or 60,000 of them in America right now. I don't care where you are, whether you're in Florida and Texas and Nevada and other states where it's more free and you're wide open right now, or you're in a state like Illinois or California, or wherever it is that's shut down, or New York. You have to step out of your comfort zone and you have to dive back into practice. And if you're going to be arrested, obviously I don't want you to lose your license. So keep a focus on what you have to do in the right way. You have a constitutional right to help people stay healthy. And I was telling you before we jumped on today, I look back and we know about the Wilkes case where there was a legitimate conspiracy for the AMA to take down chiropractic. And before that happened, we had doctors of chiropractic who believed so much in what we do and the healing of human beings through, up, down, inside out, right? We had chiropractors who went to jail over their profession. And I'm not saying like you have to go to jail, but I'm saying, look at the ancestry we have in chiropractic and what they were willing to do for this profession. And so we have to take perspective and viewpoint and a new viewpoint basically, and say, we have to step out and we have to take responsibility for our public. And so wherever you are, if you're in a closed down state, you need to go around the rules, or you need to find loopholes, get an attorney if you have to. It is time for us to take healthcare back for our people, our citizens. I hope that helps.
Bro, as I listen to you, my blood boils, because I know that when people were going to jail for practicing chiropractic, because I've done a lot of research and study on the profession, there was a motto, and the motto will supersede anything anybody could ever think about with being afraid right now. And that's to keep smiling.
That's right.
And that motto goes solely against the grain of being masked and being silenced and being muzzled. And when you can't see someone smile, everyone looks like a criminal, man. And when people, back in the day, like when there was like cartoons, who was the robber? The robber always had a mask on.
Right.
The bad guy always had a mask on. So our perception, even from like the indoctrination of how we were when we were kids and we watched like shows, like cartoons, even like the bad guy always wore a mask. So now we're all walking around, nobody, like, even if you wanted to like be like, affectionate towards somebody and just give them body language of like prosperity and abundance and love and a smile. Like it's shunned. And last night, one of my cousins up in Michigan, she posted like, hey, something about this whole mask thing. And I was like, yeah, I get it. I won't wear one. I was like, I hug people, I hold babies. Like, I think that like, it's credible still to be a human. I was like, there's still a human instinct inside of us. And and when we think about chiropractic, that's the profession that keeps the humanity, the realness of a human, like functioning and firing and staying like positive about life. And as we'll go James Chestnut on this, eat well, be well, think well, or move well, whatever he says. But we have to think about like the chiropractic lifestyle, not just for the chiropractor, but for the people that you said. Chiropractic is going to become more important as people realize that they don't want to follow the pill mill. They don't want to be on like the merry-go-round of, is this safe? And why should I do this for my kids if I don't want to do it? And is this safe? And I don't want to do this for myself. Why should I do it? And I think that safety is a huge thing. And I think that that's why if anybody really is interested about chiropractic and the safety of that, they can just look at malpractice insurance and they can see really how much an MD or a farm rep like has to pay for their malpractice because they freaking hurt people, as opposed to a chiropractor, because the risk rate of actually somebody getting injured or being some type of compromised situation is so low that like it just go Google it. Go Google, the insurance rates for a chiropractor versus an MD. And I'm not trying to be us against them, but I want to give people like a peace of mind that, maybe they are scared and they are like really worried. Go see your chiropractor. If you're a chiropractor, open your doors. And like Dr. Dean says, if it's something that you're afraid of opening your doors, go get legal counsel, protect yourself, and team up with that legal counsel. Team up with them so you don't have to practice in fear. The worst thing to do is get something against you and then have to find the legal counsel and then say, hey, I need help from you now, because that makes their job harder. It's probably going to cost you more money. So,
and if they're scared, if they're scared, we need more people pushing the little live button on their phone. So Jason Deitch, a good friend of mine, I remember him talking years ago about this, and the fact that if you're scared to open practice, do you know how you beat that? You make a lot of noise. So you tell your authorities that you're going to do it. You tell your patients that you're going to do it. And then you push live on your phone and you do what we're doing right now, because when you're rebellious, and not rebellious in a bad way, meaning you're breaking things or you're hurting people, when you're rebellious in a good way, right? When you're going out there and you're telling people, hey, I'm doing this not because I'm being selfish. I'm doing this because I want to help my community. I guarantee you, if you make enough right noise and live streams and podcasts that you're going to do it, you'll actually have your community stand up for you. And even if they do try to come get you, your community will actually get them to back off, just like Shelley Luther did.
Exactly. And if you do get in trouble, your colleagues will come to save you, man.
Absolutely.
That's the thing about chiropractic too, is it's a band of brothers and sisters.
If you get shut down, if you open up next week and if you get shut down, you message me personally, I will put you on a damn live stream so fast it'll make your head spin, and we'll make them shut down.
Well, I love the confidence in your message. And like I said earlier, your Revolution Network, as soon as this whole COVID thing hit, I was actually working in Grand Rapids, Michigan, and they shut down my event that I was at for the weekend. I'm like, what the hell? Who the hell shuts down an event over what? And I was like, I don't believe this. I want to go back to work. I was the last person in that damn event center because I didn't believe that they could just tell me I couldn't like work. And I was just like befuddled. So like when we talk about like unemployment, like some people's staff I've heard, they don't want to come back to work because they're actually making more with unemployment than they could coming back and going to work, which I think is a whole bunch of bullshit.
I understand.
and when we think about chiropractors in Michigan, again, I talked to one of my good friends that runs a very successful office up there. And she said 30% of chiropractors won't reopen their doors after this whole thing.
So that's unacceptable to me. And there's two things behind it. First of all, the unemployment, I'll tackle that. Yes, I understand some people are getting unemployment right now. They're actually making more money than they would when they get off. But I will tell you, let me first tell you, you have a businessman running the country right now. And I even say the president, whether he's good or bad, it does not matter. He's still a businessman. I will tell you, if you're getting comfortable on your stimulus plan as well as your unemployment, and you're making more money than you were before, that is not going to last long, because as a business person, it's not going to be acceptable. So I would be honest with you saying that I think you might see an executive order coming soon, because he's not stupid. He knows that's happening right now. But as soon as this whole crisis is over, plus on top of that, he's probably going to want to do something to penalize the blue states who are actually screwing over their population. I would not be surprised to see some sort of executive order, some sort of legal thing put in where he puts a stop to that really fast, because ultimately you can't run a successful nation on unemployment. That's technically socialism. It's a social policy, right? And if you think we're going to put up with, as a country, with a 20 to 30% unemployment rate, that's just not going to happen. I don't see that occurring. And from a business standpoint, especially whether it's chiropractors or anybody else in natural health or any other field, doesn't matter. This is a perfect example of how you must be prepared in business. Meaning, whether you have thin profit margins or you have any other financial problems in your world, one, this is your wake-up call to get those margins up there higher, because obviously everyone has to survive off of money. We live in a monetary society that is never going to go away. Money is part of how we operate, okay? So you have to get a good financial advisor. You need to get good money people behind you. If you are not a money person, then get somebody else to help you handle that stuff. Get educated. If you're not a money person, start educating yourself on how money really works. And great, I know you're great with your hands, you're great with healing people, all that different stuff, and that's wonderful. But if you're going to run a business, you have to know how to do it. And there's so many practices out there and so many gyms and everything else that they didn't put enough money aside. And, I will actually credit my wife with this, because I understand economics from like a global scale thing. And I really love that topic. But I will tell you, I am not the master behind like personal finance and stuff. I know how it runs, but my wife is like a genius. Like my wife can throw $1 anywhere and she'll get $10 back. It's just like she has this flow to it that's unbelievable. And so she runs that. But one of the things that she's done, and she obviously updates me on what's going on, so I have a good idea of where we are. But putting reserves aside, putting money aside, not only just for expansion, but you need reserves aside for things like financial and legal problems. You need money. Like if you're doing it correctly, you're putting money aside. So even if something horrible happens like this, even if you have to shut down because you're forced to for whatever reason, you can survive the storm. I mean, that you have to do that. And I mean, that's why people have personal savings accounts. The ones who don't, they seem to run into emergencies a lot, right? They're like, oh my gosh, I can't afford this. My car broke down. I can't afford this. Something else broke down. But yet it's all the people who've saved money to the side. And even people who don't make a lot of money, they still put $25 here, $100 here, $10 here. They tend to have less emergencies. Those are natural laws. That's how that works. And so we have to do it in Florida because we have hurricanes. We never know when a hurricane is going to come through. So my wife, being from Miami, been through many of them, she basically knows money has to be there. So even when the hurricane happened and now this happened, we had fluffy accounts to where if something occurred, we could survive no matter what. So even if we were going 6 months, a year, whatever it was, we had enough stuff put aside to where we had room for error. And there's not enough people doing that. They have to understand you have to protect yourself. So whether it's unemployment or just survival, you must protect yourself in your practice or any company that you run.
Financial literacy.
Absolutely. And let me tell you, why do we not have financial literacy? It's because we destroyed the school system. We don't have home economics. We don't know how to fix our own vehicles at all. I mean, and I'm not saying you have to know everything about everything, but we have lost all this stuff because they did that on purpose so that we couldn't be in control of our own destiny.
Well, it destabilizes someone's future when they don't have the tools.
Right. Totally.
And when somebody doesn't have the tools, that's why with chiropractors, what do? They always do? They go to technique seminars.
Right.
They go and study the tools. They figure out how to become better adjusters. And I think
my wife and I have probably spent no joke, Jim. And I know you know this from talking to other successful docs. We have our student loans from obviously school, which was a lot of money, but my wife and I have probably spent no less than, I mean, we're talking $250,000 plus just on personal educations whether it's chiropractic, self-study, business study, you name it, like out of our own pocket. And if you're not spending a lot of money on personal and self-development, whether it's through your industry and chiropractic or yourself spiritually or yourself intellectually, you have to get on board. There's no better investment than yourself.
Yeah, and I think that that's a really good segue to the next line item that I want to discuss with you is like investing in our future. And one of those things is making sure that we can go, like I said in the beginning of this interview, is to the damn grocery store. Like, let's talk about the crash of ag and farming and how does that look right now? Because I'm kind of a neophyte. I just know that there's some trouble on the horizon. So let's just talk a little bit about that because I know you've been covering this topic quite a bit.
You've made it to Chiro Hustle Live. Sit back and learn from the greatest influencers in the profession. This week's episode is brought to you by Imaging Services, Mahalo Wellness, Chiro Health USA, The Goodman Factor, Chiro Moguls, Local Gold, Chiro Thin, McCaffrey's Clinical Mentoring, and Chiropractic Rocks. Let's hustle.
Yeah, so I started saying this a long time ago when I found the Alan Savory Institute. I watched his TED Talk, so if anybody wants to go watch that, it's a really good starting place. His name is Alan Savory, and he's basically in the agricultural world, but also he was trying to figure out the science behind quote unquote global warming, climate change. And he actually found out that it was completely opposite what he thought it was. And so then I started diving down into, from a natural health standpoint, food and everything else, and obviously good meats and things like that. And so then I became friends with another gentleman, Eric Fuchs, who I've interviewed several times. He actually owns a farm. I talked to other farmers, and it just I'm also into nutritional world too. And we use whole food supplements from the ground. So I've been to Standard Process, checking out their farm, et cetera. And so it was actually interesting for me. It became a natural fit for me, was to understand how our soil and everything works. And unfortunately, we have become a country of not only importing all of our junk from everywhere, which is going to change very rapidly as we enter into this new economy, but also the farming got messed up. So I always say I'm not a vegan or vegetarian, but I'm also not a factory farm advocate, right? The free range animals is what I'm more obviously after and what I eat. And that's one of the reasons our farm became so messed up, is because we started doing all these factory farms all over the place, which were very obviously inhumane, but also really bad for the land, because you can't keep monocropping, all these different things, even in the Midwest where we have a ton of corn, like that should actually be rotated. And so as this goes forward, yes, we're going to have supply chain problems. One, because we're importing way too much stuff from China and other places like that. But also we actually sold off all of our stuff to the point where we were just focusing on refined carbohydrates. That's what our products are made of now. If you go into a store, it's made of these corn syrups and everything else. One of the reasons why all of our people in our country are very sick. But then I started learning about regenerative farming and the fact that you can actually take desolate land that looks like it's completely destroyed, and they put animals back on that land, and it will actually regenerate the entire land. So what's going to happen is we don't have enough food. It was actually speculated a long time ago that we had 3 years worth of food in our food system, meaning if everything shut down and everything went horrible, 3 years of food. And that's actually completely not true. I've heard anywhere with experts from 3 days to about 30 days roughly, meaning if everything shut down between 3 and 30 days, there is no food system, meaning we can't survive on what we actually have. And so you've been seeing some of these videos go viral on social media, these farmers talking, et cetera, and they're having to destroy a lot of their crops because there aren't enough restaurants taking it, et cetera. And so they're having to bury it because those things go bad anyway. They're not going to stay around. And so not only does regenerative farming actually take care of our system, because I think we're going to go to a very local, regional system, meaning where you are in Colorado, you're Colorado, right? You're on what do you call it? You call it the West or no?
The Western Slope.
The Western Slope. I almost nailed it, Jim. I heard you say it so many times. The Western Slope, meaning you actually should be buying more from the Western Slope because that's where you are, because it costs a lot more and it taxes a lot more of the system when you're getting it from other places. So me in southeast region of the United States, in Florida, We actually have to get our stuff from Florida. You're going to start seeing that become your new economy, which is regional farming. And regenerative farming helps that, because honestly, at the end of the day, if you go back to regenerative farming, that is the solution to the climate issue, because the bottom where the soil is actually pulls in the carbon. So all these people that want to make these carbon taxes and everything else, you actually just have to bring farming back. And it's so funny, because if you go back to the early 1900s, which I'm sure if you were studying this, because you study chiropractic and they align a lot of times, is if you go back to those early days, the farming system was like vibrant. Things were happening. Farmers were mostly successful. They produced so much food. You got milk delivered to your doorstep in a glass bottle. You can't do that with today's commercial farming practices. And so I really kind of aligned to it. It was fascinating to me. But also, now that I know a little bit about it, when this pandemic hit, you realize, holy cow, we're going to go back to a regenerative local farming and basically economic structure, where you're going to be getting, no matter where you are out there right now, whether you're in Colorado like Jim or Florida like me, you're going to end up buying a lot more of your stuff from your local farmers, which honestly, at the end of the day, that's going to be amazing. And I think it's going to be so good for the country. But I will tell you, it's not going to necessarily be the easiest transition between now and then, because the big agricultural, it's a big problem right now, Jim.
Well, I think what's going to happen, honestly, is it's going to bring families together stronger.
Absolutely.
I really think that it's going to reinstill some things like canning. I think that people are going to become, as people have kind of nudged at people that live more frugally and from the earth as granolas. Right. I think that people are going to become a bit more granola, and they're going to have to learn how to build self-sustainability, and they're going to have to once again, build community and learn how to communicate with their neighbors and use the land. And I think that that's something that's going to, it's going to strengthen our future rather than diminish our future. And I think that, go ahead.
And doesn't that so align with the chiropractic philosophy? I mean, being one with your own nervous system, being one with your family, it honestly gives me shivers, because where I believe we're headed, and people ask me all the time, how do you stay so positive about this? Trust me, I was not so positive about this for 10 years when I started watching how this was going to go down and how chiropractic was being attacked, and it still is in other countries. But I look at where this possibly is going to go, and most likely is going to go. And even if we have to fight back and get through this thing, this aligns with our chiropractic philosophy. You go back to taking care of the individual first, right? And then that individual can help take care of the other individual. And then your family gets back together. It's chiropractic. It's farming. It's America. It really is the whole planet. This is how you heal everything. And I just love, and especially talking to you, because I don't get to talk about it all the time necessarily, but I love how if this is embraced by all the chiropractors out there, we literally, within the next year or two, Jim, we literally could become the entry of care for all of healthcare.
Hey, I've even said this, as if somebody's in the other sick care model and a chiropractor goes in and adjusts them, they're going to heal up quicker.
Oh, absolutely.
When a baby's delivered, the first person that should be checked is the baby by a chiropractor. So I think some of the things that most people just don't really, our audiences are huge. So there's people out there that be like, well, why would I get my baby adjusted? Why would I have somebody adjust my Atlas or my Axis or my C7 when I'm laid up in a hospital bed healing from a post-surgery? Well, a lot of the people don't know this, but your immune system is directly correlated to your nervous system, which runs through your spinal canal, which is, I think, there's 7 in the neck, there's 12 in the thoracic, and 5 in the lumbar. Is that 24 total, right?
Yep.
24 total vertebrae. And if there's some out of alignment, some people might not know this, there's something called a subluxation. There's a misalignment of the spinal joint, putting pressure on the nerve, causing some type of a downstream effect. And a lot of that is directly linked to lack of healing or some type of disease or dysfunction. And when a chiropractor corrects that and adjusts that segment, it's going to free up the nervous system, which has a direct impact on the immune system. And if anybody wants to go find Grey's Anatomy, just go look at immunity and go look at nervous system and go look at the spine and start correlating those things together. And you'd be like, holy cow, this makes a lot of sense. Why shouldn't I go see the chiropractor? Why shouldn't they check my baby on day one? Why shouldn't I go get adjusted if I have some other type of entrenched illness inside of my body, like diabetes? If you're obese, go see a chiropractor. If you smoke, go see a chiropractor. If you like, whatever these things are, if you had heart disease, go see a chiropractor. Even the healthiest person, go see a chiropractor, because as I've come to realize after interviewing hundreds upon hundreds upon hundreds of chiropractors, is there's some common ground, is that if we have a healthier human, they have a more prosperous ability to earn. They have a more prosperous ability to manage stress. They can handle, layoff of work possibly a lot better. They don't have poor habits like sedating with alcohol and drugs. Like
Right.
you keep people's bodies healthy when they're under principled chiropractic care, whether it's a mixer chiropractor or whether it's a straight chiropractor. And if you guys want to know more about that, straights only adjust the spine. Mixers do nutrition and they do therapies inside their offices, like you said earlier. But I think as our audiences grow, people don't understand the simplicity and the complexity at the same time of what a chiropractic lifestyle can do, and why it's so important to go and get checked and get an x-ray and to get an exam, and to get actually an exam by a doctor that's not going to give you drugs or surgery. And I think that that's another thing that we could put a stake in the ground and wave a flag on and say, hey, this is truth. And you can't refute the truth. And the body is, like one of our topics is natural laws. And when the body flows from above down, inside out, with good health and good functionality, then all else follows. So I think that, just giving some clarity to some of these things that we know, but the people that might be attached to us or watch what we talk about, they might not know. Even chiropractors might not know some of these things that I just expounded upon. But I know we don't have much time left on this segment with each other before we jump into our feature episode with you, but let's just talk a little bit about constitutional rights and what people can do to remain remain free within our free nation.
100%. And before I jump into that, so anybody who knows, first of all, anybody who's watching this, you're getting a clear message that you basically have two choices in life from a healthcare standpoint. You can have the doctor over here who is, whenever you're going in, is getting a blood test or some sort of diagnostic test, hitting your insurance, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, possible surgeries, possible this, possible that. And I have yet to see somebody who goes down that road who at the end of all the medications and all the surgeries says, I feel absolutely amazing. I feel 100%. Man, I wish I had gotten those medications and that surgery before. I can do all the things I wanted to do before. When I take those 5 prescription medications, it helps me go out there and play with my family and go on the beach and do all that stuff. I have yet to see that. Yet you have someone like myself, someone like Jim, who's here with me, other chiropractors out there who are watching this in public. You have this other route where we're talking about your health, your freedom, simple things like eating good food that tastes good, taking care of yourself, getting your spine adjusted a little bit. And we're talking about like liveliness, vitality. And so when I get these two paths, it's almost impossible for me to see the reality of why someone would be like, yeah, I'll take the medication. That doesn't even go in my mind doesn't even operate at that level. And honestly, my daughter, so we talk about kids being adjusted, and I don't agree with any of the people out there who say we have to be quiet about our kids being adjusted, because there was a whole campaign for that because of Australia and everything else, and it came over to the US. I watched my daughter being delivered in my house in front of my eyes, right? And it's one, the biggest gift you could ever have, but two, it did not look comfortable. Let's just say that for my wife or my daughter, that spine got moved, even with the perfect basic delivery. And within 30 minutes afterwards, Jim, I adjusted my daughter. And so people would be like, why would you do that? One, because I saw the delivery and it looked kind of uncomfortable because, it's just physics, right? At the end of the day. And I just reached up very simply, and it's not like this big, huge adjustment like you see some adults get and things like that. It was literally simple, because ultimately at the end of the day, I wanted my daughter to have as perfect immune system as possible, which she still gets adjusted all the time and gets taken care of after she falls on her skates or she's outside, the dog tackles or whatever, all those different things. But I just can't even comprehend why people want the medication anymore. And I think that's going to transition over. And that goes into the natural laws and constitutional rights. I mean, you were put here by a creator, by God. I mean, this is universal law and natural laws. Natural laws are God laws, right? That it's that simple, right? You were not put here to be sick. Like if you actually believe, someone asked a question, do you believe you're put here to be sick? Most people would be like, no, I don't think so. Then why are you being in sickness? That's just like not accepting your rights as a human being, as a spiritual being on this planet. So when you talk about rights and everything they're doing today in the news and the things they're telling you not to do, what you can't do, you have to go. And I think my constitution is right here on the wall. You have to go start studying. A lot of people say I don't read anymore. If you can't read through this literally quarter-inch book, then I have a couple other questions for you. And if you have to, get a little dictionary out because, some of the words were written back a long time ago and they're not exactly perfect English today, but you can look them up very easily. But when you look through this, not only does it make you feel better, you start learning what you were given, not only from a creator standpoint, because the founders of this great country, they weren't perfect, trust me. They had their own problems, but they did not look to themselves to write this thing. They looked to God, they looked to spirituality, and they combined that with what is the best way you can run a country. And so I always tell people, I can't tell you your rights at the end of the day. I can't do all the research for you. But what you can do is you can start looking at it yourself. And Jim, I don't know about you, but the greatest freedom I've been given is actually myself going and diving deep into the study of it and understanding, because when you it's like reading a Bible, you go through and like something pops out at you and you're like, wait, I read that 10 other times and I don't remember reading it like that. Because the more it happens, the more that consciousness comes up and the better you feel. And that ultimately, the more knowledge you gain and you apply, the smarter you become. And then from now on, at that point, you're free. So when someone tries to suppress you like a government or whatever else, you come out and you go, see, I have this thing called the constitutional right, and you can't do that to me anymore. And so that truly is what frees you, is this ability to just be yourself and go open up your practice when they told you can't. And then when the law comes in and tries to stop you, you get people like us behind you who are saying, no, that's not right. And guess what? Those authorities that think they're over you, they actually back off.
Well, I think you said something there is really important that I'm going to just kind of put a bow on, and that reading is not linear always. Reading is saturation.
Right.
And understanding your freedom isn't always linear. It's saturation. And right now we're saturated with inadequacy of freedom. And we really have to saturate ourselves with more understanding of what it means to actually live free. And I think there's a great state in our one of 50 in Vermont, I believe, or New Hampshire, says live free or die.
Exactly.
On their motto for their license plates. And I think that should become our new motto for the United States of America: live free or die. And we all have, I've been having this conversation recently with people, and I'm like, look, man, we have the freedom to wake up. We have the freedom to leave our house. We have the freedom to earn. We have all these freedoms. But if you don't have the freedom to know that outside is still open and that like decision making is still a possibility, that you have to resaturate yourself with, healthy lifestyle, healthy habits, great relationships, and focus on the good and believe in God, and to say your prayers daily. And don't be selfish with prayer. Pray for those that need you. Pray for those that need help. And I think that so many times people don't know how to saturate themselves beyond the, God, can you just give me a better day? And
Right.
and I really believe that when we come together and we have like these beautiful minds and we have these beautiful hearts, that more people need to come together and they need to share the truth, and the truth will always prevail, and it always has prevailed. And even in the darkest days, the truth always comes out. So
truth will always win, man. And you almost hit Patrick Henry, which was give me liberty or give me death. And we are coming to that time where I hope it doesn't happen in the streets, obviously, but we are coming to that time where at least our mindset has to go in that direction of give me liberty or give me death. And not that we obviously want to die for this thing, because that's not the intention, but to just carry that mentality around. Carry that mentality around for a couple of days and see how you feel. When you feel so bold that you believe that your liberty is the most important thing in the world, and it's not worth technically going on if you don't have that type of liberty, Jim, that will change you as a human being. And so I just want people to really kind of recognize that.
Well, I thank you so much for being my guest today on the Chiro Hustle live stream. I think that a lot of people are going to benefit from this. If you guys were watching this and you found some value in this, hashtag value in the comments. If you're watching this on replay and you found some value in this, hashtag value replay, and go over to revolutionnetwork.net.
.live
And check out Dr. Jason Dean's website, and start following him on Revolution Network live streams. He does them every day of the week. And it's just really an honor to catch up with you today, Doc, and to get your side on how chiropractors can become more empowered and how public can be more empowered with chiropractic.
Totally. And real quick before I jump off, again, Jim is doing an amazing job at highlighting this amazing world of chiropractic is a healthcare first situation. And if you are looking for a chiropractor in your area, I can help people from a distance on certain things if you're public out there. But if you need a good chiropractor, you don't know where to go, Jim, by the way, follow him because he interviews them around the country and he is solely focused on the chiropractic profession, which is awesome. But like put a comment, if you're my viewers out there and you need a chiropractor or anybody else's viewers out there, go on there, check his page out. Look at all his interviews, but also reach out, put a comment in there, because I guarantee you, if you need someone to adjust you, if you need a chiropractor, you've never had chiropractic before and you need somebody, put it there. I will guarantee you that Jim and his network of friends, which is all of us, we will find you and we will get you help and we will get you taken care of.
Hey, man, that's a great public service announcement. And love and appreciate all of you guys out there that have been watching. And if you could do one thing while you're still on with us, there's over 50 people, hit the share button and share this message so your audiences can see what Dr. Jason Dean and I covered today on this live stream. And we just share the truth, and the revolution is upon us, and freedom is ours. So, man, I can't wait to do our next interview, and I'll catch you soon.
All right, buddy. Thank you for having me.
All right.
Thank you for listening to Chiro Hustle Live. Don't forget to subscribe and check back next week to continue hustling.